My property manager sucks. I hear this all the time in the real estate industry. My property manager's not doing the job. If you want top tier performance, stop treating your property managers like Swiss Army knives. Your property manager is not the problem, you are. I hear this all the time in the real estate industry. My property manager is not doing the job. And part of the reason is obviously you, right, as the property manager isn't doing a good job training, isn't doing a good job teaching. But there's another part that's not even talked about. It's how I built my entire business. In this industry, we treat property managers as generalists. And I find that a lot of people don't even know what a property manager does, right? They buy the asset, they buy the property, they put a property manager in place, or maybe the property manager's been there, and they never take the time to simply talk to the property manager and ask what they do. Well, I've done it. The first time I've ever had a property manager, I walked the property with the property manager, right? And this was a smaller property, a 50-unit property, and I asked every single thing, and I wrote it down that the property manager did. And I'm telling you, they do a ton. They do the move-outs. They do the move-ins. They do the 5-day notices. They do all things legal, delinquency, evictions, leasing. They're the ones showing the unit. They're the one leasing out the unit. They're the ones doing the paperwork. A lot of property managers process all the bills. I could go on and on and on, coordinating with contractors, coordinating with the cleaners, maybe even cleaning the units themselves. So if you think about this, we are putting property managers in a position to manage multi-million-dollar properties. And they are doing, some property managers, 27 things, I think is the most I've ever got to. 27 different responsibilities. Well, I hate to tell you this. The reason you think your property manager sucks is because you're giving them so many different responsibilities that no one person can be great at all those. So as I built our property management company out, we wanted to focus in on specialist versus generalist. Generalists, by definition, are average, right? At a lot of different things. They know how to do it, but they're not really expected to be able to do it at an elite level. And that's crazy because in this industry, there's a big difference between managing a property in an average way and then being able to drive elite results. So let's think about a few differences, right? You have this property manager that you expect to be what? An attorney, because they're doing all the legal work. You expect them to be a professional salesperson because they're selling and leasing all the units. You expect them to be an accountant because they're taking care of all of the bills that are coming in, right? And you even expect them to know enough to be able to coordinate with general contractors, cleaners, maintenance, etc. All while, by the way, giving great experience to the residents that live there. So how could you break that up? Well, for example, at our company, we have a legal division, and that is all they do. You do not need to have a property manager doing legal. You can do that from anywhere, right? With today's technology, it's not that hard to call a resident that's behind on rent. It's not that hard to be able to send certified 5-day notice. It's not that hard to show up and do evictions. And it is much better if you have people on your team only doing legal work. And that is exactly what we do, and it's exactly why we've been under 1% in delinquency, which is 3 times less than the industry average for basically the last 5 years. Every single month we're under 1%. And that is because we have a team of legal experts, and they're doing delinquency day in and day out. They are amazing at accountability. They are amazing at empathy. They're amazing at having the right conversations. They're good at de-escalation. They're good at showing up and winning the court cases. They know what they're doing, which if you take that team doing only legal work against a property manager doing 27 different things plus legal work, who do you think is going to drive better results? And they do it across our entire portfolio, right? So what else can you make specialized? Accounting's a no-brainer. Why are you doing accounting on site? It makes no sense. All utility billing, all contractor bills, anything that's happening on the property should go to a headquartered location, and you should have people that love to look at billings, people that love to do accountings, payables, receivables. They take everything and they can do it much more efficiently. You know, we have a team of actual accounting specialists that are getting scored on the quality and the efficiency that they can do that across our entire portfolio. Picture that going against, again, a property manager doing 27 different things. And don't stop there. I mean, I talked about leasing. I have not met very many property managers that are great at leasing. And it's not because they're not necessarily like born to do sales. It's just that they have so many other priorities on their plate that it's very hard to focus on sales. Especially, by the way, when they're doing things like renewals. If you were in charge of keeping your billing full and you had to do the leasing if somebody leaves, would you give a market rate rent increase? Probably not, because you're starting an avalanche of work. As soon as you give that market rent increase, that tenant might leave. If that tenant leaves, you have to do the move-out inspection, you have to do the cleaning, then you have to release it, which means there's a ton of showings. You're just creating a bunch of work for yourself. So in our division, we do the majority of the leasings with people that only do leasing, right? They will talk to the potential new resident about the unit, they'll show the unit, they'll bring in technology by giving them a Matterport so they can measure the bedrooms and the doors and to bring everything in, but all they do is sales. So if you think about it, my leasing agents that only do sales are competing against property managers that are doing, one of 27 different tasks that they have. When you're thinking about my property manager sucks, I would actually tell you, you are probably the one that sucks. Because you have put that property manager in a position where the best that they could possibly do is average. I've never seen anybody do 27 plus things really, really well. I've seen people do 3 things really, really well. So if you're thinking about doing 3 things really well, you gotta think about specialization. And you can do so much of that. You just gotta break it down a little differently. Some people are gonna say, well, my portfolio is not that big. You talked about a 50 unit apartment. I can't have somebody just do maintenance on 50 units. You might be right. So think about it differently. Maybe they can do maintenance on 150 units on 4 different properties within a geographic territory. Well, maybe you don't have that yet, but maybe you could find that, right? You could go to other people, other apartments, and try to see if you can do the maintenance. Well, now you're doing still 200 doors, and they're only doing the maintenance part of that. That specialization in our business has helped us drive elite results, okay? We're putting people in a position to be successful. And I believe that people can be successful if they're laser focused on no more than 3 different KPIs, and that's all they do. And they love what they do, and they're passionate at what they do. Next time you're thinking about buying an apartment building, or if you're thinking about the property management industry and how you drive elite results, and maybe you're even frustrated by the current results that you're getting, ask yourself, who's driving those results? Have you put them in a position to succeed? And is there something that you can do differently between a generalist and a specialist? So if you want top tier performance, stop treating your property managers like Swiss Army knives. Invest in specialists, build real systems, and just create space for them to win. If you like this video, obviously subscribe, comment if I can answer any additional questions and dig into anything else that you want. I got a really cool new video on how to turn a unit in 72 hours. Check it out.